In this video, I'm going to show you a process that you can use to build speed every time. It doesn't just build speed, it builds accuracy, fluency, and stamina. Hi, I'm Dan from onlinebasscourses.com, and if you want some weekly bass lessons that feature everything from groove to gear to fretboard knowledge, theory, and more, then subscribe by clicking the button below. It sounds really weird to say this, but it is true. If you want to play fast, you first have to slow down. Now, there are two things that are really important when it comes to playing fast, or playing anything really on the bass, and that's things that are invisible to you, and that's muscle memory, and also the fact that your brain lays down this thing called myelin every time that you practice something in a really focused way. There's a great book called The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle, which I highly recommend if you want to learn more on that. Both these things require a really focused effort when you're practicing. So what a lot of people do when they want to play fast is they try to play too fast too soon. And this requires a lot of patience, but what you must first do is repeat correct movements from a perfect foundation. To do this, you need to take whatever you're playing and slow it down and play it and explore what it is that you need to do. So I'm just going to take a little lick here that I've just been working on, just a little slap lick, and I'm going to play it really slow. So at this point here, we've got no metronomes, no external drum beats or anything like that. Now here's the riff I'm going to play. So very slowly I'll teach you this. I'm going pop with on the A string. I'm doing a hammer on from fret 5 to 7 on the A string, using my little finger to hammer onto the 7th fret and my first finger on the 5th fret. Then my thumb is coming down and I'm just relaxing my fingers across the strings to get a ghost note. And then another ghost note on the pop on the way up. And then finally a slap on the low E string, open E string. So I would play this really slowly. So we're talking that slow. Now I'm focusing on both hands. A lot of people when they play, they look only at the fretting hand and they don't know what's going on with the other hand, which is of course important. We need to get the coordination going between both hands when you're playing any kind of bass playing. So really good tip is to record yourself and listen back, because when you're in the moment, often you can't hear what's going on. Even a mirror is good so that you can see the movements, but always aim to be relaxed when you're doing this and make sure that your wrist is straight. All the kind of technical points that you should be focusing on, the basics are there. And all we're doing here is we're just allowing the brain to figure this out. At first, it's difficult, but think of anything difficult is just unfamiliar, because that's what it is at first. The more you build it up, the more it becomes familiar, the more the muscle memory is kind of strengthened, and the more you'll get this. But at first you do need to give your brain a chance, and that's why you must slow everything down. You're building this perfect foundation. Now this will take you as long as it takes you, okay? So I don't know if you can play this. If you can't, then that's something to work towards, okay? But if you've got something that you can't play at the moment, then take that and apply this process to it. Slow it right down. Try and figure out what it is that you need to work out, you know. Just go through all your checklists. Is your wrist straight? Are your fingers kind of nice and curled there? If you're slapping, are you bouncing off the string? And a lot of this is just repetition. Make sure you don't repeat mistakes. That's another thing a lot of people do. They might skip this step of the process and therefore just be laying down all that myelin in your brain, just laying down mistakes, okay, and learning mistakes. We all do this, and that's why this takes a lot of kind of patience and honesty in your own playing. If you hear any mistakes, slow down, iron it out, fix it. So you've worked through it, you're fairly comfortable at a slow speed with no metronome, and you're playing it as perfectly as you're going to get it. Now at this point, I think it's a good idea to introduce either a metronome or a drum beat. Now I found this drum beat on Logic. It literally was the first, I've never used this before. It's the drum machine that comes with Logic, and it just loaded up with a drum beat, and I've just gone with that. It's at 70 beats per minute, just to show you it doesn't really matter, just as long as you've got some kind of external source now to keep you in time. So I'm just going to press play on this, and I'm just going to play this lick now in time. Now I found 70 BPM is quite comfortable, so that's kind of a nice benchmark. If I was struggling at that tempo, I would just reduce it down to the slowest that you would need, and that's then your point. If you're playing perfectly at that point, that's your benchmark, and then your aim is just to gradually, incrementally increase it. You can use a metronome, which is obviously far less rhythmic information than what you just heard there. That hip hop kind of beat that was playing there doesn't really fit to what I'm playing, but I don't really care. It's got a regular kind of beat, and that's all I need at this point. Some of the things I'm looking for when I'm playing, which I want you to focus on too, is just complete relaxation in both hands, wrists, shoulders, back. Make sure you're breathing nice and relaxed, because that will help you when you're playing anything that's difficult. One of the kind of main things that happens when you're playing something hard is to tense up and to sort of, your breathing goes a bit shallow. Okay, so focus on those things. Make sure you've got all your fingers and your hands exactly where you need to have them, and that's where you're going to build up from. I'm really focusing and concentrating on that as I'm going. And then the final thing of this process, I think, to do is to make some music from it, because after all, that's the point, isn't it? So that's a fairly standard lick. It doesn't really do anything. I'm just going to press play now, and I'm going to play the same thing but start to improvise around. Now I know this is in the key of E minor, so all you're going to hear me do is a slap thing. I'll keep kind of doing some sort of slap thing, and I'll just be doing fills in E minor. All these kind of notes. Okay, that's E minor pentatonic if you wanted to do something similar yourself. Just playing through that, I was really trying to focus on relaxing everything, because when I wasn't relaxing, I was aware that the groove was just rushing away from me a little bit. And as a bass player, your role really is to stick with the groove. And for me, this process is, yes, about playing faster, but more in time as well, with good feel. Playing fast isn't the be all and end all with any kind of instrument, especially the bass. I think groove maybe is, and time and feel. So this process you can use to practice all those things all in one go. So use that process for whatever you're working on at the moment, and do leave a comment, let me know how you're getting on with that. Also remember to subscribe for more videos like this on all things bass. See you on the next one.